I have a topic that I've been thinking about bringing up and a little shy about doing so, but I'm going to do it anyways. It might be a little controversial. I have worked with many businesses over the last decade who use Gino Wickman's work called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And many of you might be familiar with the book, either Traction or Rocket Fuel. Okay, so that whole system is based on this structure of having two roles at the top. A visionary, I think that title is kind of self-explanatory, right? It's like the entrepreneur who has the vision for the business is usually the person who started it, who is the creative and really is going to keep having the vision for what the business should be in the future. Okay, that's cool. All right, it's good. Okay. There's a second role that's supposed to go right with the visionary, and his work really talks about these two being a good, the complement, the two things you need at the top, which I'm going to disagree with. But let me just say the second role is the integrator role. Integrator. Okay. And an integrator, what they're supposed to do is break down the vision into all the things that need to happen, projects and functions. And then they are supposed to integrate all that so that it turns out to produce the results that the visionary is looking for. So that means that the integrator is supervising all those functions, supervising all those projects. And even if people aren't intending that to last for the long term, even the idea of it, even trying to make it work, works in businesses for like 5 minutes, if even that. Because what we talk about that we know is so important, what we advocate is for entrepreneurial businesses that are moving from, startup to sustainable businesses where the CEO can get out of the weeds, can actually do that visionary work. What they must have is a really strong cross-functional leadership team. Cross-functional leadership team. And this leadership team as a group, as a team, are the ones who operate the business together. So they are integrating the functions together. It's not like an integrator that would sit like in the middle of a wheel and all the spokes go into that integrator, right? And then the integrator has to act as this like a central command center of giving directions and telling all the different functions what the other function is doing. And because those guys don't talk to each other, they only talk to the integrator. It's kind of how it's set up. And it doesn't work. And it doesn't work for a bunch of reasons. And in fact, we've now worked with several companies where it almost collapsed their entire company because these integrators are still too involved in the day-to-day weeds and the functions, of which they cannot be experts in all of those functions. An integrator, think about your own business. An integrator can't take responsibility for the marketing and the sales and the customer service and the technology and know everything about finance and HR. Like, it's impossible. And yet they're in the position of where they need to or they fail. And so what usually happens with the integrator is they either quit, they burn out and they quit, or they get fired because they literally can't perform. And then the worst thing is what the business is left with is a bunch of people in functions who don't know how to lead a function, who only know how to take direction, who don't know how to be responsible for results of that function. And I could really see why, because an integrator can't mentor and train all those functional leaders by themselves. Like it's just not going to happen that way. And so what we want businesses to do is, even when they have an integrator type role, and I might call it, in our lingo, it might be a director of operations or a COO. That person is taking some extra responsibility to make sure that team is functioning, okay, that team is functioning. But they are not solely responsible for everything going on in each of those functions. Those leaders are. And so if you lose the director of operations, you still have a whole really strong team who can support the next director of operations. Like, your business doesn't fall apart because it's like your next launch isn't going to tank because now you don't have the integrator to tell everybody what to do. We need those functional leaders. And so the idea of a visionary and an integrator, I think especially to visionaries, I have so much compassion for them, especially to visionaries. They really want that, the simplicity of like, really, I could have like one person who really kind of does it all like that. Yeah, that sounds great. It sounds like too good to be true. And it is. It just doesn't work that way. But what you can have is developing a whole leadership team that you have a good relationship with all the leaders on the team. And you're going to interact with all those leaders at different times in different ways. It's not necessarily that you are even going to have all those leaders directly reporting to you. They'll probably start reporting to you, and then over time, they can report to a COO, or they might report to a CMO, or, all these other functional leaders that you're also going to have. But you get experts, you get more than experts, you get team members, leaders who can be responsible for results, while at the same time being responsible to communicate and work with all the other functional leaders and all the other functions to actually produce a result. And that's what you need. That's absolutely what you need. And so I know it sounds awesome, like you could just get somebody to do that. But again, it's like that is a way to feel like you're doing the right thing. And as it doesn't work and it doesn't work and it continues to not work, then people often then end up coming to us going, oh no, it's not working. And by the way, my COO just left, or I need to let them go. And now we have to rebuild the entire leadership of the company because there isn't any. And that is a big, big thing. It's so much better to be building that leadership over time as you grow, that you keep identifying people within the functions who can keep moving up, who can start to, like if you have a marketing leader, they can start to do the marketing with less and less input from you, that they can really come to you with what needs changes, what they're thinking about the next promotion, what, how things are really going and what they want to do differently. That is what we're looking for. And it won't, I so want people to just avoid that whole visionary integrator thing. It just doesn't work. And one other thing, it also gives the entrepreneur this idea or this hope that they really can just move straight into a visionary only role. It's like, entrepreneurs, they do get tired of having to be in the weeds of their businesses. Like, oh my gosh, I know. And they can't stay there. The business actually won't work if they stay in those weeds. But that is a process to move out of the weeds. And that process includes training and developing good experts and leaders in each of those functions so that the entrepreneur really can eventually get up to that CEO or much more strategic and visionary role. To learn more about this episode's topic, pick up a copy of my book, The People Part, at your favorite book retailer or at AnnieHymanPratt.com.